Hey there. Bolo here again with another real story for you to listen to. Have you ever traveled somewhere and came across a weird situation? I call this one, Lonely Road. Enjoy! More than a decade ago, my brothers and I decided to go back home to the Philippines for a vacation and attend a family reunion on my mom's side. My older brother just finished his undergrad, our little brother just graduated high school, and I just came back home after a deployment. We felt like this trip was a pat on the back for us and a welcome break from our duties at home. Our older brother started the planning, and our trip was set. We were going there for just a little less than a month, and we were going to hit many destinations and hang out with family that we haven't seen in over 10+ years after moving to the States. The day of the trip, my brothers and I took 2 different cars. My parents and one of my dad's sisters dropped off my brothers, and a girl I was seeing at the time took me to the airport. I made some inaccurate calculations and ended up almost missing our flight, but fortunately I made it through the skin of my teeth. I did, unfortunately, not miss the scolding from my parents and auntie, LOL. The rest of our travels went smoothly enough. Our first landing was in LA, and from there we had a stopover in Alaska, then we had a connecting flight to Korea until finally we landed in the Philippines. Overall the flight was almost 20 hours, but we were really excited for this vacation. Honestly, this was the first trip my brothers and I made together without our parents. In Korea, our stopover was a little bit longer. My little brother saw a girl he thought was really cute. Because he is deaf, we came up with a system where I would type in a text box, something on his phone, and he would bring it to a girl. From there he would drop his casual game and see where it would lead. Who knew that the ladies love the deaf bit? My brother pulled. With my words, and his phone coupled with his unique charm, we had a 70% chance of bagging numbers. I typed a few sentences, patted my brother for the go-ahead, and he made his way over to the girl. A little bit of swagger was deployed and my brother came back with a number. He said that the girl was going to the Philippines too. I told him, maybe would run into her while visiting, or if she was headed to the same places maybe we could link up with her. My older brother and I started pumping our little brother up, and giving him props. He was still shy and we were trying to build his confidence and to push the, being shy because he's deaf, out of his mental state. Nothing really came of it, and at that terminal was the last place we saw her. This system though worked pretty well and we used it until each one of us settled down and got married. We had a busy itinerary, so it never came into fruition. But our trip was still in its infancy and we had a lot of time and places to cover. We landed and one of our aunts picked us up from the airport, and we spent a couple days hanging out with family on our mom's side in the city. A week or so later we decided to visit the place my older brother and I were born in, somewhere in Leyte. Our cousin, we'll call him Boy. If you're Filipino, this will sound very familiar to you, picked us up from this smaller prop plane that we needed to take from Manila to the countryside. We were really excited to see him, since that last time I saw him I was around 4 and we were young men now. On our dad's side, we are one of the youngest out of all the cousins, while on our mom's we are some of the oldest. He was from our dad's family so we were babies when he last saw us. We hopped into his car and did a lot of catching up. He took us around the city proper for most of the day. Where we ate out, saw some sightseeing destinations, mingled with the locals and had a hell of a time. All the while catching up on our lives and adventures we've had so far. Our cousin told us that we should head back to our Lolo's housing before it got too dark, because we had some time to get there from town. This sparked some curiosity from me, because he seemed a little tense and anxious when he said this. In context, our people are very superstitious, especially the ones that live more in the countryside. The Philippines isn't a large country, but there are over 7,000 islands and majority of the populated islands are enveloped in mountain jungles. It gets very dark and fast if you let the time get away from you. Weird things happen to people in the darkness in the middle of nowhere. To placate him, we agreed to start heading to our family's property. But before long, the night descended on us and my cousin started to look slightly worried on the drive. Let me tell you, when I say it gets dark as pitch. In contrast, especially here, in the States the light pollution is very pronounced. I was a little used to it, since I just came back Oconus from faraway lands in the Middle East. The way we were positioned was, my cousin who was driving, my older brother on shotgun, and my little brother and I straddling the middle on the rear bench seats. We were still talking stories, but there was a mood shift in the air, and I noticed that my cousin became more tense, quiet, and anxiously would look at the rear view and side mirrors frequently as if looking for something. When there was a break from the tree canopies, we could see so many stars. It felt like we could see every star in the night sky. It was a breathtaking sight to behold. We were driving with our windows down to enjoy the cool humid weather outside and to take in fresh mountain air. I was busy pointing out star formations to my younger brother when I noticed ahead of us the headlights illuminating someone walking on the side of the road with a makeshift backpack on their back. He had an odd gait to his step and headed in the same direction we were going. I couldn't really see any details of the man, but he seemed old and hunched. His clothes were somewhat tattered, but serviceable. He was wearing one of those rice-picking hats, and was walking on beat-up sandals. I kind of felt bad for the man. My cousin's back stiffened a little bit, and I asked him if he was going to stop and offer the man a ride. To which he abruptly blurted out, "No." I was a little taken back, because if you know any Filipinos, we are usually very friendly and give a helping hand to people who are in need. Especially so, for the people who live in the countryside. The road we were traveling on was a single-lane road, which can barely fit two cars going the opposite directions. It was dark, and we were deep in the jungle with no signs of civilization for the next several miles. No wayward houses or people in our immediate vicinity. My cousin rolled up all our windows, and sped up. Having just come back from the Middle East, I assumed that the old man was bait, for bandits, to stop a car and ambush the occupants. I didn't question my cousin further. When we approached closer to the old man, my cousin gave him a wide berth while my brothers and I tried to catch a peek at the man's face. For some reason, it is hard to explain, like the man had a veil of shadows covering him, we could not see the old man's face and it was as if he was averting our gaze. As soon as the back of the car passed him, the man disappeared. We couldn't see him being illuminated by the tail lights. I did not notice any breaks in the jungle for the man to have turned into. 1 minute he was there, and the other as if he didn't exist. I was shocked. Our cousin drove on in silence. After some time, my cousin apologized and said he didn't mean to be short with me. I told him that it is okay and I took no offense. I then said, "Man, that dude disappeared," and chuckled at my weak attempt to lighten the mood. Our cousin gave a slight pause then replied, "There's odd and unexplainable things that happen in the jungle at night, and that it is advisable not to pick up solitary strangers at night, because we don't know what they might be." I cocked my head to the side out of curiosity, and asked him what he meant by what they might be. "Don't you mean who?" He gave no further answer. Our cousin turned on the radio to some oldies station, and once a song we all knew came on we sang with the tune until we reached our grandparents' property. If you enjoyed that story, please, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for the support. Bolo out.